Hey guys, Micah from Black Bear Custom Kydex. I have a quick video for you today on a sheet that I just completed for this Tops SXB. This thing is an absolute beast. It's sort of a larger version of the Tom Brown tracker. This thing is called the SXB Skull Crusher, designed by E.J. Snyder. Probably a lot of you guys know who he is. So anyway, I've been getting a lot of requests for these since the very first one I did. One of the reasons why not a lot of Kydex guys do SXBs or trackers in comparison to a lot of the other stuff they do is because of this massive recurve right here. I'm not actually sure what the knife terminology is for this kind of shape. I don't know if that's technically a recurve or what it is, but anyway, it does present some pretty major challenges when you're molding a Kydex sheath. So the biggest thing is that when you form a Kydex sheath, in the initial formation process, it wants to pinch together and close in all the nooks and crannies, which is what ultimately allows you to have that kind of click retention and just being able to retain the knife in any orientation without having to worry about it falling out. But when you have the Kydex pinched together below the blade in this section, that means that the fattest section won't be able to draw through. So you have to find ways of either setting up the knife, prepping it in advance so that when you mold it, that space will not exist. The space will exist. It'll be wide enough for this to pass through, or you have to work it after you've done the initial molding. So typically I do it that way. I mold it first, and then I'll work this space with some heat. I keep the blade protected with some tape, and I work the knife in and out of the sheath until sufficient channel is created and I've reduced all the extra marks on it and contours and whatnot. To me, that just is a very reliable method to get the exact clearance you need, rather than hoping that you'll tape it and get the right contour and take all the time to prep it. So I decided to try doing the prep taping this time, and I think it came out really nice. But ultimately what I found out was that I was right. The time it takes is just to get the same result. I don't see it as being super worth it. So, alright, anyway, this one is Fabian's. Fabian down in Laredo, Texas, and Fabian asked me if I could make him a sheath that was, he just said, black and gray combo. Eventually we kind of narrowed it down to black basket weave and my choice of either Kryptek Typhon or Kryptek Raid. So I went with Typhon. He asked for an Eagle Rock Gear sling, and they had just put out a new gray color when he made the order, so I bought one of those for him, and this is what we got for a sheath. So it's kind of my traditional style now. Not a traditional style, but my kind of classic signature look. And instead of doing a full basket weave sheath with Typhon plate, I decided, as you can see, to do a sheath. Well, you probably can't see, but the undercoat is just black. You can see it on the back here a little bit down here. So it's just a flat black, and I've made an end plate, a fully reinforced top of the sheath, the mouth area, in basket weave, and then I've put this Typhon plate over the top for a nice decorative look. So you get this kind of like interlocking pieces look to it, which I think is very, very cool, and it reinforces the entire face of the sheath. So I'm really happy with how this came out. I think it looks super nice and it functions very, very well. Attached to it is a PowerTac flashlight. This is the M5 Gen X, and it is an extremely aggressive texture flashlight. So Fabian, this is going to generate Kydex dust for a little while. I think I worked it so that I got most of it out of there. You can see the streaks inside this channel here. You get the light just right. You can definitely see those scratches in there. There's no real way around that. Just with how sharp the tips of all these little burrs are on here, it's always going to generate that dust. So I've gotten it to a point where it's loose enough to be very functional, but it's still going to always really, really aggressively retain your flashlight. So here's another reason why it's good that it's like this. So this particular flashlight has a side switch as well as a tail cap. Now the side switch doesn't actually turn the light on, doesn't actually do anything. The tail cap, however, does. and then the side switch is a function cycler. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4 strobe. So there's 4 brightness settings and a strobe, all of which can be turned on or off, and it remembers the last setting. So being that you have to initially turn it on with your tail cap anyway, I wanted it to be tight enough that when you push the tail cap, the light isn't going to move. It's not going to start to push out. So this should be very easy to operate. And then the other thing with the placement on the sheath, I've done this quite a few times now, so you guys probably already know what I'm going to say, but having the flashlight right here at the opening of the tip when you're carrying it on a baldric sling is really advantageous, because if you are, you know, wandering around in the woods or whatever, it's dark out and you need some light, you don't have to take the flashlight out and have one hand dedicated to that task. You can literally turn your flashlight on and you've got just about a full range of motion while the sling is on you. Obviously, the tighter the sling, the less range of motion. But you can even set it kind of downward at an angle so that it's lighting your pathway in front of you. And if you need, you've got your hand free to use your knife. So I think that's a very good combination in the worst case scenario. All right, as far as the carry system on here, obviously we already talked about the Eagle Rock Gear sling. I really like these. They come with a very generous amount of paracord woven between the 2 D-rings up here. They're very comfortable slings, they're rugged, and they've got super easy, quick adjust for length. You can also play a little bit with just the traditional style tri-glide buckles to make it even longer or shorter. And then he also asked if I could put a pair of MOLLEs on it. So we've got that here on the back, and you can see that these are set up. These are large Gen 3 MOLLE locks, so they'll go through 3 full rows of MOLLE webbing. Normally I would space them a little wider, but it just kind of made sense to do it like this with having a plate on the back here. It is slightly flexible, but it's 2 pretty thick layers of Kydex. It's a .125 and .093 stacked on top of each other, so you do have quite a bit of reinforcement on that. And then I mean, when it's riding on a pack, it shouldn't be any issue, especially with going through 6 full loops of MOLLE between the 2 of them. It should be very, very stable. Also, there are 7 holes vertically. There's 6 on the MOLLE lock itself on each one, and then there's a 7th hole down here below on the plate. So all 6 of these holes are perfectly aligned right now, but you do have the option of going up even higher. Ostensibly, I wouldn't recommend it, but you could go just the top 2 holes of the plate lined up with the bottom 2 holes of your MOLLE locks, and that would jack them up really high. So you've got some options as far as ride height. Technically, you also have the option of turning these guys sideways. They are spaced properly at 1.5 inches. If you get something with MOLLE locks on it and it's not spaced in intervals of 1.5 inches, then you need to send it back to your maker and tell them to redo it, because MOLLE panels are set up, each loop center to center is 1.5 inches. So if it's not compatible with an actual MOLLE lock, or MOLLE panel rather, then the MOLLEs are not set up correctly. So I see it all the time, and it's annoying to me that people are doing that. So anyway, I always make a little spiel about that. So these are 1.5 inches apart, and the spacing of the actual holes on the MOLLE lock are 3/4 of an inch. So this is 1.5 inches. Skip a hole and you get 1.5 inches. So you could turn these sideways and mount them at, again, any multiple of 1.5. I think you can do 1.5, 3, and 4.5 inches on this plate, and have it set up to ride horizontally on a MOLLE panel. So if you wanted to do that, you absolutely could. Obviously, the sling can clip in and out of these D-rings, so if you are going to put it on MOLLEs or on MOLLE panel, I would say just take this sling right off of it. The D-rings are they're really nice. They're in there sturdy. You can move them pretty easily, but they don't want to just move and flop around on their own. And if you just lay them right down, they'll stow and be totally out of the way. So I'm very happy with how all of this has come out. Make sure I have this back on there correctly. Sorry, chasing the MOLLE lock or the D-ring with my HK clip. All right, so that is pretty much the knife itself, and then or the sheath itself, and then we do have one other modification for the sheath, and that is, if you guys have heard of the SXS, it is basically the little brother knife to the SXB. Tops has recently announced it, and I think they had just announced that they would be releasing it at some point this year, at the point where Fabian placed the order. So we were talking about how we were both definitely going to get one at some point. So he had said he wants to be able to piggyback it on this sheath, but he wants to set this one up in advance to be able to receive that. So we had kind of puzzled it out, and the option that we ended up going with was the universal Tek-Lok adapter. So what that does essentially is allows you to put any device that rides on a Tek-Lok into this adapter, which is hooked onto the sheath itself. So this thing looks a little bit funky, I know. This is my newest version of the Tek-Lok adapter. I just call it the universal Tek-Lok adapter. I know it kind of looks like it's like putting SpongeBob in a diaper or something like that. So if you guys have a better name than SpongeBob's diaper, please chime in below. Let's get something better for marketing purposes. Let me stay on the camera with me for just a sec. I'm going to grab something with the Tek-Lok and show you. For those of you who watch all my videos, you probably just saw it like a few days ago. I had one where I used this exact same sheath to demonstrate a universal Tek-Lok adapter on a different knife. But basically how this works is this Tek-Lok, you kind of have to put it in a little bit like sideways and just twist it down into place like so, and then seat it all the way down. But imagine that this adapter is connected to the sheath like so. Then all of a sudden you've got the ability to piggyback not just this knife, but any knife, multi-tool, whatever, that has a Tek-Lok on it. You also have the ability with this particular one to do a different angle. So let's say, bear with me for a second, and let's take a moment and look at it. So this knife, not quite the same size as the SXS, but it's close. So now imagine the SXS is set up with a horizontal carry Tek-Lok. So the Tek-Lok is set up vertically, essentially perpendicular to the knife itself. So it would seat down into the adapter like so and ride on the SXB sheath. Now let's say you decided that you want, the whole purpose of it is so that you can quickly detach your smaller knife and immediately carry it in whatever orientation you have the clip set up at. Let's say now that you want to carry it vertically, you want this to be able to carry vertically on your belt. All you have to do is change the Tek-Lok position to vertical on your knife, and then take this off of the SXB sheath where it was set up like this, and now these eyelets are also set up to run this way. So now you can just turn your adapter, and all of a sudden you have a vertical carry set up that is a perfectly viable option. So then again, you would have your SXS knife set up like so. Now, as far as the exact position, I did use this knife based on the specs of the SXS. I don't have one in hand, so I just had to look up the actual dimensions of it. This has a very similar sized, or length handle, I should say. So based on the length of the handle, I was kind of just estimating when I put all this together, but roughly I think where the Tek-Lok will ride is right here, and it should put the handle, hold on, let me see if I can do this without slicing myself. Should put it somewhere around here. Now It should afford you just enough clearance to get your hand behind and still be able to comfortably draw the SXB. That's really important when you're dealing with piggyback positions, and this being an estimate, I can't be 100% sure, but if it needs to be adjusted in any way, Fabian, you and I can take care of that. I obviously will do that on the house, so no worries there. So I'm sending you, Fabian, your Tek-Lok adapter. I've got a couple of really long screws through here. I'm gonna actually, while we're on camera, just in case. So these are 3/4 inches long, those screws, with a 1/2 inch long post screw to receive it. I'm going to send you full 1-inch screws as well, 2 of those, and you've got some hardware plugged in here, but I'm going to send you a couple other pieces, so, or spacers I should say. You got some spacers. So I just want you to make sure, I want to make sure that you have all the potential hardware that you'll need for this project, for this sheath. Boy, I'm struggling right now. So I'm looking for a, there we go. I want to send it to you in a little baggie so that I don't lose any pieces. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the SXB. I'll show you the click here in just one second. Apologize, I should have done this beforehand. Just afterthoughts. Alright, so as far as the fit goes, it's a very smooth draw. Resheathes smoothly. It's got a good click going in. Kind of low pitch guttural. It's not quite as, you know, you're used to hearing like a lot of the higher pitch clicks with smaller knives. The double layer definitely adds a lot to it. And then the you're also hearing the vibration of the what you call it. Jeez, I am really struggling today, guys. You're hearing some of the vibration of the HK clips on the D-rings here. But the one thing I want to show you though is that it is an exceptionally smooth draw for the type of knife it is, having a saw back on it and everything. So much so that you could actually draw this without bracing your sheath at all. You have to brace it to get it to go back in, but as far as the draw goes, so you don't have to worry about this tearing up your blade. Not it would break the blade or anything, but obviously it can scratch your blade, so you don't have to worry about that with me. I do a pretty good job taping up the knife in advance to make sure that there's enough clearance on both sides of it. Alright, so there's that, and then he also asked for a matching wallet. So, oops. So I got Kryptek Typhon, got the card compartment on the front, cash compartment on the back, and then black basket weave to divide the two. And I even used, I've got this kind of silverish gray shot cord that matches the sling pretty well. So, alright guys, that is all I got for you today. If you like this sheath, if you like this video, I ask you to hit that like button. If you like the channel, subscribe. Definitely comment down below. Let me know what you think of the SXB, or if you have a Tom Brown tracker or something like that. Let me know what you think of these knives. I haven't had a chance to really use one out in the woods. I've got a tracker, but I just haven't really used it yet. So I'm really curious. My suspicion is that it's probably got a learning curve to it, but once you get the hang of it, I'm sure it's a really great knife. Visually, I really love this thing. It's very comfortable in hand. It feels absolutely forward heavy, which makes it a really competent chopper in my opinion. But I want the opinions of those of you out there who have had a chance to use one, see what you think. So yeah, comment down below. Let's get a discussion going. Let me know what you think of the universal Tek-Lok adapter, and if you have something better than SpongeBob's diaper for a marketing name for that thing. So alright guys, I appreciate you sticking around for 20 minutes of rambling and humoring me as I show off the sheath. So again, like, share, comment, subscribe. Thanks for sticking around. Tune in for the next one. God bless.